Today's Toy Spot, we're having a look at the DC Collectibles Batman the Animated Series, number 7, Manbat. This was actually a bit of an older figure by comparisons to some of the newer ones we're having a look at. I just never got a chance to pick him up. Comic book store restocked him, and that is what brings us here now. Manbat comes with an extra pair of wings. He comes with a ton of different accessories. Very, very excited about getting this guy opened up. As for the back of the package, despite the fact that he is unique to its own box, I don't think any other character. Roxy Rocket had a very similar box. Well, I think hers was a little more narrow, but there's no read-up on the back. It does, however, say www.dccomics.com. It also says www.comicshoplocator.com, but absolutely no read-up. Spot's going to take a break and get this opened up. When we come back, however, we're going to get a better look at the Batman the Animated Series number 7, Manbat. There's more heading your way, guys. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. This is, as they would say, not our first rodeo, so Spot's already taken the liberty of putting the display stand together. We've been there, we've done that. We've got the turnaround with a 3/4 front, 3/4 back image of Manbat. Of course, the clear rod goes on top of that. This section goes on top of that, and then you've got the adjustable waist clip. I mention this all the time, and I'll mention it again here. This doesn't need to be as long. I wish they would shorten these a little bit, but you got yourself a display stand. Perfect for Manbat because he is so big, kind of has a tough time standing, at least here. He has a tough time standing. Some of the other things that come included with Manbat, you've got yourself a cassette tape. Well, it's actually not even so much a cassette tape. I think it's actually a cassette recorder with the tape inside. Very small. Very minuscule. And he gets a whole, well, he gets three different prescription, I shouldn't say 3 different, but he gets 3 prescription bottles. Does he hold them? He does not. He actually doesn't even hold the cassette either, just because of the way his hands are. He doesn't hold these. I don't know why they would have included these. I mean, I always say this. I appreciate that they would include them, because it's always cool to get episode-specific accessories, but when you have a character like Poison Ivy who can't really hold flasks or vials, and you've got Manbat that doesn't really hold bottles in any sort of way. And actually, let me just show you what I'm talking about here. Here's one of his arms, and I'll replace the arms, but the other arms are pretty much the exact same, other than this curls down a little bit. But there's no way that he can hold this bottle. I appreciate that they gave it to us, but you know, if he can't hold it, it really ultimately just kind of sits next to him, or you ultimately just put it in a bag. So cool that they give it. Don't really think we needed it though. Put the stand there for a second. And let's pick up Manbat, who, again, just really big. And his legs, for some reason, I just can't get him to stand properly here. But he will stand. Just, you have to do a little bit of adjustment. It doesn't also help that I've got his wings completely out. His wingspan is completely out. Let's have a look at his face. I mentioned this on a couple of different reviews for the DC Collectibles Animated Series line, that it either is inspired by the figure or it's inspired by the cartoon source material. Characters such as the Joker, characters such as Harley Quinn, I think channel more the figure, the original Kenner figures, whereas I feel Poison Ivy, Mr. Freeze, Two-Face, Scarecrow, Bane, and even especially Manbat here, I think channels more the animated series than the figure. The sculpt on the face is awesome. I love it. It's got that real sinister kind of bat look on his face. You know what, let's bring the camera up here. Got a real sinister, evil looking face. Unfortunately, the downside of the head, just by virtue of the way it's been sculpted, let's bring the camera back a little bit. The back of the head, you can't, ooh, I don't want to do that. You can't bring the head back any further than what you see right here. So it's always, unfortunately, got his head down. I wish there was a way to kind of bring it up, but I can understand based on its sculpt, that's just the way it had to be. You almost saw Spot do one disastrous thing, and that's one thing I have to touch base on. Be careful with moving the head. The jaw is not posable, it's just affixed to the top of his head. If you move his head left or right, or try to move it up and down. Make sure that you don't put pressure on the bottom jaw because that could break off. In regards to his outfit, if you want to call it outfit, he's got a pair of pants, just a pair of gray slacks. And then basically the rest of him is just Manbat. And as by default, the wings I had out, basically took them out of packaging as the wings are already up. But the wings are posable. You can move, and this is basically just sculpted to the arm. Like, this is all one piece. You can't do any sort of manipulation to the wings. You can't do any real manipulation to the arms. They're one sculpted piece. A downside, yes, but unfortunately for Manbat, that's just the way it has to be in order for him to have proper wings. You could have tried to section this off so that this could have been bent, but then ultimately if you bent the arm the wrong way, you'd see a big, opening where the wings shouldn't be like that, or, it would never quite look finished. So unfortunately, this means that they go the route of a solid arm in order to give us a complete wing. That's just unfortunately the way it has to be, and I'm okay with that. Another option that you can do, though, is take his arm off the socket. It pops right off. I was worried with taking the arms off that something's gonna, I don't even want to jinx it. I don't even want to say it, but pop the arms off, and now you've just got Manbat's torso, and the fully extended wings we'll just put to the side. Manbat also comes with a pair of more closed, like wrapped around wings, because in this case his arms would be down. And same idea, just going to take the peg, pop it into the socket, and then you can bring those down. Same idea with this arm. Pop it in. Make sure, of course, the thumbsies go in. And pop that in. There we go. There's the satisfying click. And we've got Manbat now with closed wings. Still, it's a shame that his head always sits down, but you can adjust it accordingly by adjusting the torso. At least then you can have him facing more straight up. I wish his head could bend a little bit more, but at least it's okay. And there you have Manbat with the shop's all closed. Owner's gone home for the day. Obviously, for displaying him, it's just a matter of preference whether you display him with the fully extended wings or you display him with the wings down. I kind of like the wings down. Doesn't really make him more dynamic, unfortunately, because he's not flying or anything like that. But I think having him on display, I kind of just like him having the wings personally down. When it comes to his posability, Manbat's head, as we've already discussed it, is on just a single, I guess it would be a ball joint, the way it's pegged in, but ball joint, really, you can't do too much with it. You can just rotate his head around. Shoulders hinge out on actually both cases. The joint is exactly the same. It's the same hinge joint. So the arms rotate out. They also rotate all the way around. But that's all you're going to get from these arms. That's all they can do, which is, again, okay. It doesn't bother me that much. He has the upper torso crunch. He does have also a ball joint, which is interesting that it would be a hinge as well as a ball joint. That's pretty cool. Gives him just a little extra stuff you can do with the top torso. Legs go forward and back. They hinge out. And he's got a hinge in the leg, but the leg itself, I can't seem to get him to bend it. So I'm going to say, other than rotating the lower legs, I'm treating that, I'm assuming that is only the way it's been manufactured. There is no hinge in that joint. Although it does look like it wants the hinge, but if you look at the back of it, I don't see an actual bend point to that lower leg. So again, I'm not going to fight. Oh, there we go. There we go. It was just really stiff. He does have the hinge in the leg, but the default is always having his leg bent. You can bend it forward, further back, but you know what? I'm just gonna leave it be. Manbat ended up being, despite the fact that it was one of the later figures that I picked up, ended up being one of my favorites. I just think he does a lot of things right. Having him look more like the cartoon and less like how he did in the figure form, I think was a smart choice to go for Manbat. I kind of wish, though, that DC Collectibles would give us more figures that had looked based more on the cartoon and less on the figures. Joker, I think of all the figures, looking back on it now, I think of all the figures, Joker's probably the more disappointing figure, just because he could have been so much better looking like the cartoon, and ultimately he just looked more like the Kenner original figure. Manbat, on the other hand, delivers a solid outing. Super cool, super awesome sculpt. I like the interchangeable arms too. That's a nice touch. Yeah, Manbat is definitely, if you can find him, he's well worth picking up. Today's Toy Spot, we were having a look at the DC Collectibles Batman the Animated Series. We're looking today at Manbat. Stay tuned, guys. Spot's going to have more Toy Spots in your way. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.